to talk with you about another makeshift conversation, something that was in our news bulletin yesterday. So yesterday we had Hilda Dokubo. I think she still is the Labour Party chairperson in Rivers State. I know there is all of the drama happening also in Labour Party, but we're just going to go with that. And some of you would remember her for acting talent. Yes, she is in Rivers State, from Rivers State as well. And yesterday she had this rant. She complained about point of sales operators who stick around banks, the banking halls and the banking premises, and they are the ones with the cash always. And she was complaining and wondering why ATMs never or almost never have money in the machines, but the POS operators are always having cash. And she began to ask the question, what are the ATMs for? Why are we always making things difficult in the country? And she went ahead to say, we are buying Naira, and that is Naira abuse, because the POS will charge you, the bank will charge you, the bank charges and all of that. And she said, is that not corruption? Or she asked at the time, is that not corruption in itself? And she called on all, the financial institutions, institutions like the FCC, the ICPC, all of these institutions to come, even the CBN, to come and explain to Nigerians. I mean, why is it difficult? When I put the money there in, it wasn't as difficult as when I'm trying to collect it. So why is it the way it is? You know what? We're going to listen to a recording she made herself, when she was ranting. Can I call it that? Can I call it a rant? When she was ranting about, the POS replacing ATMs.
And it needs to be addressed immediately by the financial regulatory bodies in Nigeria. Nigerians can't be seen as buying Naira in Nigeria. It is wrong by every standard. If you have noticed, most ATM machines attached to banks are always temporarily out of service. It is worse over the weekends. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, better not have an emergency because your bank will fail you. My question is, what are banks for right now? What exactly do the banks do, and who owns this POSs spread around the city? Now, every bank in Nigeria, they all have ATM machines within the banking premises. Their rule before now used to be from 0 to 100,000 kind of transaction, use the ATM outside so that you don't have a crowd in the banking hall. But for some time now, by choice, they have all said that ATM machines don't work. They probably work during hours, skeletally. They just work. But the minute it is 10 minutes to 4, most of them are off. They're out of service. However, these POS operators who are just next to the bank, next to the bank, even shops, grocery shops are beginning to learn the same thing. Their own ATM machines inside where you pay exact amounts don't work, but they all have POSs outside, still attached, but you have to pay those charges. Why do Nigerians have to buy Naira in Nigeria? Why? Because that's exactly what this amounts to. You buy Naira at from between 5% and 10% of how much you want to withdraw based on the location. So if you are in my community, for instance, you get to pay 10%. If you are in Port Harcourt, maybe you get to pay 5%. Maybe if you are right in front of the bank, but right now, they all have uniform charges. They'll tell you it's 300 Naira per with 5,000 or so. who owns those POSs. Because after you pay to withdraw, your bank still charges you bank charges. So the average Nigerian is paying multiple times to withdraw the same amount of money. Who owns the POSs? Who in the bank is ensuring that the citizens of Nigeria buy Naira in Nigeria? Regulatory body. Onasi work do. That is the real abuse of the Naira. Yeah. Go get them. Go and get them. It's useless. Yesterday, I had to use all the grace of God inside of me.
All right, I would have to pause the recording there. If you could, or if you've seen the video, you probably would know, and you probably would have seen how passionate she was talking about that. But you see, I'm not talking about this because of her. I'm talking about it because of the issue she has raised, and it's an issue that we should talk about: the difficulty of getting Naira from banks through the, teller machines, the ATMs, and then if you've got to use the POS, you're being charged for it. I think with the ATM, if you're using the ATM of a bank that is not, the bank you bank with, then you would have to pay charges after a certain number of withdrawals, right? But you pay charges immediately you use a POS, because if you're taking 1,000 naira, about 100 naira is taken from you, depending on your location. If you're taking 5,000 naira, thereabout, 200 or 300 naira is taken from you. And when you look, for those of you who may have done transactions outside this country, when you use, a POS outside the country, you're not necessarily charged, I don't know why it's a culture in Nigeria, and these are some of the issues that we need to look at. But what is of concern to me is why the ATMs are almost always out of cash. I don't know if you've experienced that. Almost always out of cash. Even during that, what's it called now? Naira scarcity, during the cash crunch period, the POS would always have money. Meanwhile, if you go to the bank, if you get to the bank, you wouldn't see money at a time. So I do believe it has become a culture. I might be wrong. It's become a habit. And it reminds me of a report that came out in the month of March, when it was said that about 70%, yeah, you heard me right, 70% of fraudulent activities that happened in the country were done through banks. And this is, from the EFCC. It's not like a made this up. It's not like some agency. This is from a government agency, the EFCC, saying the banking sector is increasingly becoming a cesspool of fraudulent activities. An estimated 70%. Could this be one of such fraudulent activities? Then again, now the chairman trusted in bankers, who blamed bank customers who sell their excess cash for sale to POS operators at special banks. Now, Mr. Njoko, in an interview correspondent, Constant Mega, said the activities of depositors leave the banks with enough cash, to dispense to customers. So let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Deposit Money Bank receive cash from depositors, members of the public that are their customers, and also from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Deposit Money Bank and other financial institutions also take excess of their cash back to the Central Bank. The cycle continues. But what we have experienced recently is that customers like the supermarkets, petrol stations, and others, instead of returning their cash to the commercial bank, they rather sell them to POS operators at a fee. These POS operators in turn sell to customers.
He also criticized POS operators who charge exorbitant service fees for every cash withdrawal or service. He urged Nigerians to report them to the appropriate regulatory agencies. Where do we see them? That's my first question on that issue, of course. But let's take a listen to him.
Some POS operators will even tell you to pay 400 naira for 10,000 naira or 200 naira for 5,000, which is exploitative. And that is why you see people complaining. The challenge we have in this system is that people don't obey laws. People don't like compliance with regulations, banking regulations or non-banking regulations, flouting the law. And the law enforcers are not doing much. If what the law enforcement agencies did to people that are selling dollars, if they do the same thing to the POS operators, you see that there will be a change. Everybody will sit up and ensure that they charge customers at a reasonable rate.
The Rivers State CIB boss also slammed business owners and managers who subject customers to adding a service fee when they pay with their ATM card. I don't even understand that one, right? I mean, the point of sale machine in the first place is to ease transactions. So imagine I'm going to a shop and I'm going to buy, and they tell me it's difficult to get cash, so you have to pay. Nigeria. And yes, I do agree with buy cash, but take a listen.
That is illegal. It's not acceptable. In fact, such a person should be reported. If you go to a supermarket to buy something and you present your ATM card and they say you have to pay charge, when the person asking you to do that, an illegality and they should not accept it.
So you've heard them, it is illegal if you're buying, not you're not asking for, what do we call it now, cash back? No, you're buying stuff from a shop. You're not supposed to pay an additional charge if you're using a point of sale machine, a point of sale. I think point of sale machine, POS, right? You're not supposed to pay. But welcome to Nigeria. So what do you make of this? What is your experience like? I would like to hear from you. What do you agree with Ukachukwu Njoku that is saying it's not like it's the bank's fault. The reason why there are no monies in the ATMs is because people don't deposit at the bank. Do you agree with that? I mean, I find that funny, but what's your take on that one? Secondly, there's also the talk about exorbitant charges. Before we even get to exorbitant charges, I'm wondering why can't the POS are always having money. Are we saying that POS people are getting more deposits than banks these days? Why are banks not investing in ATMs anymore? Okay, we'll get back to that one when I do come back from the break. I do have a commercial break now.
You are tuned in to
Nigeria Info. We'll be right
Time for me to take your views on the issue on the review. As you already know, I think we've talked about it extensively. Before I went in for that commercial break, I was going to tell you about one more talking point, one more perspective to this discourse. And I was going to talk about investment in ATMs. For instance, if you are along the East-West Road, the places where you would get to see an ATM is, or are, places now are Choba, one end, and Rumokoro, another end. Before you get to see again in any other place, it will take you, not even at Eliozu Junction or anywhere along that side, not even along, I stand to be corrected, as if you're going towards, what's the name of that place now? So if you're going towards Oil Mill, still on the East-West Road, you probably would not see another ATM. Rumekini, Alakaya, you probably would not see ATMs. And when you look at the Ikwere road access, you talk about the Rumokoro stretch, you see an ATM. What about Rumigbo access? What about that Rumokuta access? I think you would have to move as if you're going towards Rumala before you get to see another ATM, right? So my question, the Wimpy access, do we really have ATMs? I stand to be corrected. We're learning on the show. Right, we're learning on the show. Are there ATMs around there? So I'm wondering why banks are not investing as they should when it comes to ATMs. Let's even go to HA. Let's go to MOR. In MOLGA, how many ATMs do we have there? In HLGA, how many ATMs do we have there? In Ikwere LGA, Icarus Peak, so maybe we should break it down. But really, how many ATMs do we have there? But trust me, I can bet we do have, in all of these places that I can remember that I've mentioned, we have a lot of POS operators who are operating, and thereby we then have to buy the Naira, because you're taking your own money. It's your money, it's your money. You're taking it, and you have to pay charges for taking your money to the POS operator. Think about it. The POS operator would have to service his business operations, so he has to take the charge. I'm not saying POS operators are doing the wrong thing. They pay transport to the banks to get the money. They would have to feed, they would have to pay bills. So all of those things are, are being looked at when they put their charges up. But it's time for me to take it. I'm done talking. I do not have enough time. 0817923 0002 is the first call number. 0817923 is the second call number, and 0817923 is the third call number. But if you want to do voice notes or messaging, you can use WhatsApp platform, and you can send me the voice notes and or WhatsApp message to these numbers: 0809 0306416. This one says, good evening, man of the people. People are not depositing at the bank, because if you deposit 100,000 Naira now, and you come back in the next 2 hours to withdraw 50,000, the same bank will tell you that they can only give you 10,000 Naira. So why should I carry money to the bank when I cannot get it when I need it? The POS have our cash, because they buy the cash from business people for their transactions, and they need to recover the money they spend to buy the cash alongside their profit. So that's why they change, or they charge higher to cover their expenses. Mike from New Road. Or Mike, thank you. You've got Clement from NTA Road. Clement, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear from you. Clement, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, let's get your thoughts, please.
I'd like to ask you a question.
All right, you want to ask me a question? Go ahead.
Does it affect in any way?
This my what?
Of
course,
in any way?
Of course it does. Of course it does.
Okay, because I believe with not so
I can hear. I can hear you, Clement. Well, I guess the network is. Clement, Clement, I can't hear you. Please do call back if you can. I've got Taino. Is that your name? Taino, all right. Taino is calling in from Rumokrushi, all right. Rumokrushi. Taino, welcome on the show. What is on your mind, please?
Yeah, good evening.
Hey, greetings to you.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome. Quickly, let's get your thoughts.
Okay, you see, I've been to the bank severally, even inside the banking halls. They tell you each time that there is no money.
Oh, really?
Banks would pay you 10,000, some will pay 5,000, and you go to the ATMs, like you rightly said, you hardly see money. And I put it to you that Nigerians are the problem to themselves. Yes, each time we keep on saying negative things about our leaders, but we ourselves, we are even far worse than them. I don't know the reason why people will be hoarding money. You go to the banks, they tell you there is no money, but yet the POS operators have this money. So where did they get the money from? That is the problem. We have suffered in this country that it has gotten to the essence we are buying our own money. The last time we had a cash crunch, yes, that is quite understandable. But what is the problem now? Everybody is looking for one way or the other to make honest gain. What is the problem with us in this country? Why are we suffering ourselves, and each time we point accusing fingers on the leaders? I'm not advocating for the leaders, but I want us to understand something. The leaders on their own part, they are not trying at all. But then, why can't we help ourselves? Besides, like me, I have tried to help myself in a way. The thing is that I find it difficult here in Port Harcourt. I go to Delta State, go to Edo State, even sometimes to Akwa Ibom State. I discovered that so many shop owners, they have their own POS machine. When you buy, you do your transaction through the POS. No charges. It's just the normal bank charges.
Okay. All right. Taino, I've got to go. I get your message, but I've got to go because I've got Clinton who's waiting. Clinton from Bori, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear from you.
Kalada, good evening.
Yeah, greetings to you. Welcome.
I personally don't blame the POS operators.
Oh, really?
They are into business. I blame the banks. There is no time that you go to the bank, the ATMs of this bank, that you see money there. But the ATM or POS operators that are littered around the bank premises, they have money. What is the relationship between the POS operators and the bank that don't have money and the POS operators have money? There is a business relationship with them. Because there is no way I pay you some certain amount of money, then I'm not selling. You have to make profit. So when they load this their machine, the first people that withdraw money from that machine are the POS operators. So once the money is finished, you now have to go and buy it from them. It's happening. So I think the banks should be questioned. Those local government chairmen should go to these banks and query them. We are in Bori. I'm in Bori. We have 3 banks in Bori. If you go to the ATM, no one is dispensing cash. But the POS operators at the front of the banks, they have money. And the rent is very high. What about emergency cases? That you want to use money for something, you have to go and pay. It's really unfortunate. I think we have to bring those people to justice if we want to get it right.
All right then. Thank you very much, Clinton. Thank you for your time. This one says, good afternoon, Canada. It is so severe when you go to the bank and you're told that the maximum you can get is 5,000, or you're told that we don't have cash, go and use the POS, or they even tell you to go use the POS. I remember going to one of the banks to make withdrawals, and I was told to go use the POS, that there is no cash, that CBN has not brought cash, that coming out from a bank manager, while at the same time another person is snuggled into another room to collect cash. Sometimes I look at the ATM and it looks like a television stand to me because it is not working. Only yesterday I went to buy stuff and the person told me to add charge. If I want to pay through transfer, just as I have said, it is really, really severe. Augustine Aaron T. All right, Augustine Aaron, thank you very much. Just as when people say Nigeria is not working, I'm gonna edit the message. They simply mean basic things that work in other countries don't work in Nigeria. Just check out how Nigerians have been struggling to get cash from banks since Emefele's time till today. Meanwhile, POS operators always have cash. I tire for Nigeria matter. Beg Bernard from Port Harcourt with that one. And this one says, Hector KD, the banks, or rather the bankers and the POS operators are collaborating. We have a very corrupt culture in Nigeria. Virtually everything in this country is done in corruption, from public to the private sector, and we always have words to qualify our corrupt attitudes. All right, Hector, thank you very much for that one. I do think I have a voice note as it relates to...
Hello, Kalada. Good afternoon. I am Fidel from Alaka here. I know many people are pointing accusing fingers at Nyesom Wike to be...
Oh, okay. I think I've moved on from that, so I would have to play that voice note during the open season. But let's look at more missing people without ATMs. Are Abwa Odwal people. We come out to Awuda to transact. So bad. Or rather, you said so bad. And this is coming from Rock from Ekunuga village, Odwa. So are you saying you don't even have POS operators in that region? This one says, this indeed is a potential fraudulent act by the Nigerian banks. It is a deliberate means to extort from the poor and average citizens of their hard-earned money. And then you said, yet the same financial regulatory and law enforcement agencies have turned a blind eye about this. But when an organization decided to open an investment business where the poor citizens will benefit, the SEC and EFCC will clamp them down, just as they did to, you mentioned some agencies and the rest of the financial investment organization. Now, banks, institutions have deliberately stopped keeping money in the ATM machines, or in the ATMs, I think that's the correct way, automated teller machine. So you cannot say ATM machines, right? But you said so that they will fall back to POS operators, which is the personal business. This is the height of corruption, Canada, and the government are doing nothing about it. This has to stop, and the government need to intervene on this precarious situation before it gets out of hand. Maxwell from Port Harcourt. Maxwell, thank you. My time is almost up, so I would have to run out of the studio for now. When I come back from the other side of the news, because the major news will come your way by 6, then you and I will have to talk some more open season, the final one for the week. Good evening, Canada. This is Sir Promix from Ada Judge. The banks in Port Harcourt have a lot of questions to answer. Why is it that other states are not facing this issue? I was in Warri, Delta State for a function, and I used the ATM conveniently to withdraw thousands of Naira more than once at a glance. But in Vivid State, the banks gave 5,000 Naira only, but POS has cash. Okay. Thank God I would get to your message eventually. I will get to your messages, but I've got to go for now. I've got to go. Just stay tuned when I do come back. I don't know. Can I read this? This says, good afternoon, Canada. No POS operator will want to buy money from supermarket, trader, bus driver, etc. if they can get cash from the ATM for free. But the bank's ATM are always not dispensing, and sometimes only 10,000 Naira withdrawal limit. I've got to go now. Just stay tuned, please.
Hello and welcome to yet another fantastic time on your radio. I am Gabriella. Welcome.